Russian troops are retreating on two fronts in Ukraine as the Ukrainian forces advance their counteroffensives, both in the northeast and down in the south. Now they're closing in on a key city in the south as President Biden is pledging more military assistance to Ukraine. ABC News' Britt Clennett and ABC News senior national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy joins us now with the latest. Britt, first, Ukrainian troops, they're advancing rapidly with this new offensive being fueled in part by captured Russian weapons. Somebody did the math, and Russia is apparently the second largest provider of weapons to the Ukrainian forces because they're capturing so much of them. That's happening in the south. Well, what's the latest on Ukraine recovering territory down there?
Right. Well, as you say, Terry, there have been reports that these Ukrainian breakthroughs are being partially helped by captured or even abandoned weapons, you know, Russian tanks, howitzers and fighting vehicles too. But really, you know, you mentioned about the HIMARS, the weaponry that's been sent from the US. That's having a real impact. That's helping, those HIMARS are helping to strike deep into occupied territory. You know, they can strike targets like army depots and command centers deep into Russian territory. Russian-held territory, I should say, with accuracy. You know, they're helping Ukraine press forward with this remarkable gain, these advancements that we're seeing in the south and east, freeing dozens of towns from Russian occupation. You know, and earlier we spoke to the governor of Kherson this morning, and he told us that she told us, I should say, that Ukrainian troops are less than 35 miles from the regional capital. Now, taking that city would deal another huge blow to Putin's campaign, just as he signs laws to formally annex 4 regions in Ukraine, including Kherson. Now, Kherson is of huge strategic importance. It's the only connection to Russia from Crimea. So these advances, Terry, are very important for Ukraine.
Thank you, Britt. And they're striking. Mick, what's going on? I mean, first in the northeast, you saw that remarkable advance by the Ukrainians and the collapse of the Russian line up outside of Kharkiv and beyond. And now down in the south near Kherson, as Britt was just saying, what is the Russian military effort kind of crumbling here, or is it the expertise and spirit of the Ukrainians? How do you read what's happening?
So, Terry, although this is far from over, I think what you just said is accurate. I think we are seeing the crumbling of the Russian chain of command. Essentially, when you withdraw orderly, you don't leave a lot of weapons and equipment. The fact that the Ukrainians are recovering a lot of Russian equipment means that there are essentially no discipline and it's completely disorderly. On the Ukrainian side, this shows that they can not only conduct a counteroffensive in one area of their operations, but 2 very complex counteroffensives in the north and the south that are successful. And that really shows that they have the initiative and they are outfighting the Russians.
I mean, it's staggering to think that a country of 40 million is taking on an invasion by one of the world's largest military powers, 120 million or whatever it is. Now, Putin has called up these 300,000 new soldiers, this mobilization, this draft of 300,000 new soldiers. How much of a difference can that make? How fast can he get them there, Mick? And how much of a difference can it make, do you think?
So I don't think it will have near the difference that President Putin hopes. They're largely untrained, and that is compared to the troops that are currently in Ukraine, which are supposedly trained, but really are not. So I think it was smart by the Ukrainians to put out immediately that any Russian soldiers that's forced to fight in Ukraine can surrender, and that surrender will be accepted. This might be all for naught. And quite frankly, it certainly caused a lot of political pressure back home against Putin for doing this. So I think it might backfire. There'll be more bodies in the fight, but those bodies aren't trained. And obviously right now, the Russian officers cannot control the soldiers that are currently there.
It just every day brings a headline that just is head shaking. And Britt, you've spent a lot of time there. What's the mood there as these advances on 2 fronts seem to have such success? How are people feeling? And yet the terrible losses that Ukraine has suffered.
Look, I think that morale is reasonably high here, especially with those advancements that we're seeing in the south and the east. We're talking about a kind of feeling that Ukraine has momentum on its side, you know, while for Russia, there's humiliation. You know, his army reportedly in disarray as criticism of his war grows at home. You know, Russians are on the back foot now. You know, it's admitted it's regrouping and that they will strike back. Clearly, Putin is not going to throw in the towel. You know, what does he do now? That's the big question when he's embarrassed. This war is at a dangerous precipice, and that feeling, that mood is reflected here as well. But as I say, morale is high, and there's a sense that momentum is on the Ukrainian side.
It is remarkable. David seems to be beating Goliath. That may be what we're watching here. We'll see. Britt and Mick, thanks very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.